Hello, Internet. Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons with Lightning God. Like I said in my last college life video, I joined the D&D club here at Roger Williams University, and we recently started a one-shot slash short campaign. If you don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, or have only a basic understanding of it, this video won't leave you in the dust. This was my first D&D experience, and I am far from experienced with the terminology or lore, but essentially it's a role playing game where you make a custom character and roll dice to see if you are successful with actions. In this video, we'll be going over the essential lore necessary for the story to make sense, my character and his backstory, and of course, everything that happened in the first session. Now let's get into it. Okay, so as far as lore goes, our dungeon master or DM filled us in. Basically, 100 years ago, Mysteria, the goddess of magic and mysteries, among other things, was killed by a faction of mage guilds. The mage guilds killed uh, Mysteria because she didn't want them to use a spell that would remove magic from their enemy's army and threatened to remove their magic if they used it. In response to that, they used a spell that removes magic on the freaking god of magic, which gave the spell the nickname the God Killer because it freaking killed her. Because of this, magic in the place where Mystria died becomes wild and uncontrollable, and the people who go into this place become deformed monsters that basically warp magic used by spellcasters around them, making it wild magic. The other kingdoms around the mage guilds force them to walk into this corruption as punishment. This will become important, I swear. Anyway, we are now in the country of Garia, which is divided into 5 different princedoms. The princedom of Isiris has started a civil war to seize the land and throne of the strongest princedom, Isyko, whose prince is dying. On top of that, a town called Knothburg, located in Isiren, which has sided with Isyko, has sent an expeditionary militia force to take back a rebel town, but no one has heard from them since, and it's been over a month. There's also been reports of a strange mist that have caused both livestock and people to disappear at night, and the mist people makes people fear for their lives. The princedoms like Isiren don't have a standing armies and rely on local militias and mercenary groups to defend their lands. And that's where we come in. We are members of the Kingfisher Company, a prestigious mercenary group based in Isiren that has been tasked with investigating these disappearances and, if possible, find the missing people. Now we can get to my character's backstory. Basically, my character is a 20-year-old human witch named Xanon Colram, and here's a picture of him. He grew up in a rich family, and one day, while playing in the woods, Pharasma, the goddess of birth, death, and destiny, also the sister of Mystria, appeared before him after peering into his destiny. She gifted him his familiar, a white fox he named Revi, and he began to study witchcraft and preach the goodwill of Pharasma. His family did not approve of his studies, and one day lightning struck their family manor, killing everyone inside but Xanon, who was outside in the woods gathering herbs. After inheriting their wealth, he held them a funeral and, in their honor, learned how to cast the spell Lightning Bolt. Feeling like he wasn't making enough of a difference, he joined the Kingfisher Company to live up to the destiny that Pharasma bestowed on him. My character canonically has gone on 2 missions with the Kingfisher Company, one of which was with the investigator of our group who goes by his last name, which is Lavelli. The other members of our group are a flirtatious female bard named Ina Quickbrook, a male swashbuckler named Donovan Aldred, and a ram-hungry female slayer named Elwyn Palace, a sometimes drunk female fighter named Andreana Kylas, and a mom cleric named Shima Longbridge. Honestly, with how this one shot is going, we are all a perfect group for comedy, but Shima and my character steal the spotlight together. She canonically has 6 kids, is a single mom, has a ram familiar named Butters, and is the most talkative person I've met in or out of character. Meanwhile, I'm a dark, brooding witch whose mood can change on a dime, is very religious, and stares intently into people's souls, and calls himself the Electus of Pharasma. Our chemistry is my favorite part of the campaign, especially since Revi loves getting pet by people, but mostly it's just her. This one shot came with pre-built classes, but we could choose from and swap out spells, but the backstories were up to us to make. For my spells, I chose Detect Poison, Detect Magic, Message, which makes it so I can whisper to people from across the room and only they can hear it. Dancing Lights, which summons 4 balls of light that control over a wide area. Doom, which makes the person I cast on it feel fear. Cure Light Wounds and Burning Hands. Stone Discus, which allows me to summon a blunt or sharp stone frisbee to chuck at an enemy. Anticipate Pearl, which does the same thing as Doom. Blindness/deafness, Dispelled Magic, and Lightning Bolt. I can also fly for 5 minutes a day, levitate, and use slow falling. On top of that, I have a masterwork light crossbow and a wand of shocking grasp, among other useful things. Suffice to say, I think I'm pretty stacked for a simple investigation mission. Oh boy. Anyway, the lieutenant of our KFC, or Kingfisher Company, briefed us on the mission and sent Enya and Lavalley towards the town as an advance force to gather intel before the rest of us arrived. The commander of the town militia told Lavalley and Enya there was one known witness and 3 suspects. The witness was an old war veteran named Arthur Dathomir, who had retired and lived on a farm, while the suspects were a wizard named Leopold Allrund, who was the curator at the town library, a midwife named Helena Constance, who worked at the hospital, and the town herbalist named Harold Buttonwood. After the commander showed them around the barracks and told Lavalley and Enya our group would have to split up and sleep in either the tavern or the barracks, she showed them the town entrance, which was scarcely manned because most of the militia had gone on the expedition that went missing, and if the town was attacked, they could barely defend it. After Lavalley asked some more investigative questions, I don't think that were important for this video, they set off to speak with the war veteran. Personally, I think the conversation was kind of uneventful. The war veteran told some basic stuff and wasn't lying after Lavalley and Enya both did successful sense motive checks. But we did learn that the town is deeply troubled by the disappearances of the expedition, as everyone knew someone who was on it. They did get another witness who was the war veteran's son, named Archie, who saw one of the disappearances, and they went to question him, and so he described the disappearance thusly. I was coming home to the farm from the town when I saw the mist roll in. It didn't look natural, since it was perfectly clear night with no rain. When it reached one of the sheep, it started to look panicked and ran bursting through the wooden fence. I tried to go after it, but when the mist touched me, I couldn't think straight, and I began to fear for my life. Lavalley asked Archie if he had seen anyone nearby, and Archie said there was someone in the mist, an old person with white hair, holding some small animal cupped out in front of him. After a few more questions, Enya and Lavalley left, and while Enya went to question another witness, Lavalley went to look out in one of the farm fields. When Lavalley got to one of the farm fields, he looked around where the sheep had broken out, but didn't see anything. This will become hilarious in the next session. Lavalley went back to check on Enya, and he found Enya with her hands around the shoulder of the witness. And as soon as Lavalley opened the door, he was like, "Nope, sorry," and ducked back out the house, followed shortly by Enya. Nothing happened to the rest of the day, and the following morning the rest of us arrived in town. On the ride to town, we were all in a wagon together, except for Shima, who was riding on her ram the entire way, talking about her 6 children. While that was happening, Elwyn wrote "Eat Buggers" on the forehead of Kylus, who was passed out from a hangover. When we finally met Up at the town, the commander showed us the barracks, and my character was relieved that Lavalle took charge and said that Shima would be staying in the tavern with them, since her likable nature would be helpful for getting information out of people. Also, the bard gave some makeup to Kyla so she could cover her forehead graffiti. After that, we split up into groups of two, with myself, Lavalle, and Enya and Kylas going to the wizard, and Shima, Donovan, and Elwyn went to the tavern to gather intel. We entered the library, and immediately I used detect magic to learn that the wizard had, among other spells, divination, which allowed him to see other people's spells. After walking to the back of the library with Owen, I used message to tell Lavalle this. The others did their own checks as Lavalle and Enya approached the wizard. They told him they were from KFC and investigating the disappearances, and Allrend responded by saying, "Yes, he can clearly see you're investigating," referring to all the spells we cast to check him before using Dispel Magic to wave the spells away. Lavalle said that it was just common procedures, and Allrend sighs and says that he understands. Enya did a sense motive check and could tell that Allrend was irritated for being bothered but not angry. They asked if he knows of a spell that would make people afraid after being enveloped by mist, and Allrend says yes, pulling out a big book of spells and points to a spell called Haunting Mists. Lavalle asks some general questions about Allrend, and we find out he had an apprentice that left with the expedition to the war, and that another one of the people that works at the library witnessed another person disappear. Another thing we learned was pretty funny is that when Lavalle asked if he saw anybody disappear, he said no, but he wished he had because said he would have done something about it. After a natural 18 plus 17 skill check for sense motive from Enya, she can see that Allrend is trying to make himself look tougher than he is. Lavalle then asked if Allrend had used Haunting Mist before, and if so, if he had done it recently. When Allrend said no, a sense motive check by literally everyone confirms he was lying. After Lavalle says he can tell that what Allrend said wasn't true, Enya offers to use share memory that would let him see the memory of when Allrend last used it. Allrend tentatively agrees, and the following scene happens. We see Allrend at the library late at night when a sheep-like animal bursts through the back door and starts biting at the books on the shelves. Allrend tries to shoo the sheep thing away, and when that doesn't work, he yells, "These are my books!" before casting Haunting Mists, which makes the sheep thing run out the door it came from. Allrend then reaches down and picks up one of the books the sheep thing was ripping into, and a lump forms in the back of his throat as he flips through the now battered pages of the handwritten book. Enya then chooses to end the vision, and Allrend thanks her for her discretion. Enya asks who the book was written by, and Allrend says it was his apprentice that left with the expedition. Now, at this point, I was kind of suspicious of his apprentice. My line of thought was trying to get into the DM's head, and I thought there was going to be some sort of plot twist where the apprentice was the one behind it all. My character messaged Lavalle to ask him how old the apprentice was, and Lavalle responded with a "boy" look and chose to ignore my question. Lavalle then asked to take Allrend's apprentice's book for the time being. After some convincing by Enya, Allrend agreed. After that, we headed out, and my character bowed in respect to Allrend from one magic user to another, and I can see a small lizard crawl out from under Allrend's sleeve. Suspicious. While that whole plotline was going on, at the tavern was a group therapy session. Shima literally used her charisma after asking a few people some questions to get everyone in the tavern together in a group therapy session, and Butters was a comfort animal for them to pet. We used to say when our group showed up, we were like, what the fuck? Also, Reverie looked at my character in longing, and after I sighed and said yes, Reverie sprinted into the pile, getting pets for days. For those who don't know, witches have an empathetic link to their familiars, so my character could feel them petting Revi if she so choose, which made everyone crack up when I started meditating, and the DM said I was doing my best not to connect to Revi. Lavalley split us up again, so Shima, my character, and Donovan would stay at the tavern while he, Enya, Owen, and Kylus went to question the witness Alrin told us about. And that, unfortunately, is where session 1 of this one-shot ended. If this didn't get you hooked on the story, just wait until the next session. Oh boy. If session 1 was an investigation, session 2 was an absolute cluster family friendly. For a sneak peek, here's a sentence that was said by me in the next sentence. It's just session. I can't speak. Alright, I'm gonna roll on over to save this disaster of a conversation. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you want me to do more content like this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.